All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Enlightened Conversations. Really excited for today and to introduce you guys to today's awesome guests. We have Donna Hickey, who is up in Rhode Island, and Donna is a spiritual advisor and coach and really awesome human. I came across her Instagram page not too long ago, maybe a month or two ago, and immediately saw the love and light that she was sharing with her audience and knew we would have a fun conversation together. That's what we're going to have today. So without further ado from me, I want to introduce you guys to Donna, and you can share with the audience so they're more familiar with you, who you are, what you do, why you do it, all that good stuff.
Yeah, sure. I'd be happy to. So who I am. So what I'm spiritual advisor and coach, and I work specifically with high achievers who have experienced some level of trauma. They go swing back and forth between anxiety and depression, but everything in their lives look from the outside like really tight, really good, but they're still coming up against these blocks, not being able to maintain relationships or stay in a healthy relationship or even grasp what that is. So I help them facilitate their healing so they can actually have those things. And I do that in 8 weeks in a personal setting online with people. And I specifically work on 3 pillars with them that I find in my line of work. And I've been at this spiritual growth process game a while, really important. And you have to master your awareness first. You have to start becoming more conscious. Nothing's going to change in unconsciousness. So I teach people how to do that in various ways. And then the next pillar is healing. And within that big chunk, I walk them through inner child work, reparenting, a forgiveness cycle, and a couple of other things. And what I find, honestly, Noel, is this is like the missing link. I believe that in the depths of my being, that contacting and connecting with your inner child who was wounded and fled into hiding and is now protected by this critical voice. Like, it's really, really important to make that connection. And, I share this in my content all the time, and I get this feedback from people all the time that all they have to do is have a couple of guided meditations through it. So I facilitate that. It's challenging for someone to do it on their own. I have found you have to be able to really cut through your own ego. You know what I mean? To get to that point, because most people are really used to that critical voice, the voice of egocentricity. They believe everything that it says. There's no barrier between it. Oh, I'm a big worthless pile of crap. Oh, it must be true. Like, people don't have that barrier. So the guidance in that, I find, is really, really tantamount and just provides super rapid transformation. And then the next component, the third pillar, is conscious creation. So, like, this is slightly like the law of attraction, but it's kind of bigger and deeper than that. It's really embodying it in sort of a 3D way. I think that another thing that happens out in our world right now is that we're bombarded with manifestation coaches. We're bombarded with people that are teaching the law of attraction. And a lot of people really want to grasp this. But the reason why they're not getting good results with it is because they've skipped some stuff. If they inherently embody in their being and believe that they're unworthy, and it's tied directly to wounds of the past, this has got to be unearthed. It has to be, and it has to be looked at, and then it can be healed and cleared, and then you can start vibrating at a higher level. But I talk to people all the time and I have to admit, my heart breaks for them a little bit. People that, I don't want this to sound, I'm always looking for, try to get this to not sound mean, but when you're in the lower levels of consciousness, when you're believing everything that's going on in your life all the time, it's really hard for those people to grasp these concepts and keep them going because of traumas from childhood, traumas from marriage, whatever it is. They're carrying around their baggage of hurt, and they don't they don't know how. They don't have the tools to let it go, just to let it drop. So that was a very long-winded explanation of, what I do. And I've been called to do this work because I just, lots of my own spiritual downloads. Um, I'm the spiritual teacher that bridges the gap in the 3D world for people. I'm the spiritual teacher that helps people wake up. There's a lot of teachers that are teaching people like us to really enhance their gifts already, but I'm the person that's really bridging that gap and getting people in their everyday sleep to wake up, and then they can start to see that they have a bigger purpose. They're not even going to start buying into the fact that they have a bigger purpose when they're completely asleep. So that's what I help them do. A lot of my clients are people who, they have a couple of divorces under their belt. They've been in talk therapy on and off for 20 years, and they're still, it's like they're hitting a wall. They're trying all these different things and they keep hitting the same wall. And what I have found is these three things working in tandem just work miraculously well. And what I love about my little container with the tools I offer is that, my whole goal is to get them to leave the 8 weeks feeling so confident, knowing exactly what to do when they get triggered. Exactly. Not like going unconscious, but staying fully conscious in that trigger, and knowing exactly what they need to do. I need to sit with my inner child. I need to listen right now and understand why they're activated. Okay. Stuff like that, like real tangible skills for people. We're not taught this in school. We're not taught meditation. We're not taught to wake up. And so that is what I'm super passionate about, is getting people to wake up and just be willing to see things differently. I say that a lot. You just have to be willing to see it differently.
Mm, I love it. You've inspired me a lot, and I'm gonna dive in a certain direction here because it's so important, everything that Donna just described. And what one thing that I want to make sure that everybody is aware of, because you mentioned it throughout what you just shared, all of us are vibrational beings, and in every moment of life we are vibrating at a certain frequency, which in 2020 and beyond, this can be actually measured now. I've actually been to events where I've had the EEG, like brain wave like scanners on, to where I've seen current moment frequency, and it's just
Cool.
amazing. Like, then they were guiding me to show me, like, Noel, think of a time where it was a really rough time of life. We're not going to stay there long, but I want you to see this. And then now think of a time where you felt like on top of the world, you were victorious, and I got to see like how the frequency changes. And
That's
so
so
it's
cool.
so interesting. And when it comes to law of attraction, for those of you guys out there that have heard of that, which if you're listening to this podcast on a regular basis, you know what it is. It's important to know that right now frequency is what is determining what we see out in the physical world. And that's what's reflecting, that's what's being attracted to us. And if we're not aware of things like Donna mentioned, like inner childhood traumas, or anything that is affecting that right now frequency, which for most of us at times in our lives, we've had blind spots that we're just not aware of, that it's affecting our energy moment by moment, day by day. And it becomes very predictable what our lives are going to look like if we're vibrating on a worried frequency, or a stressed out frequency, or a blaming others, or the world, or whatever, or I'm not a good enough frequency, or whatever frequency we're on. It becomes very predictable what our lives are going to be. And that's why Donna's so passionate about this, because once you are aware of this, it's what she said, our heart breaks for people, because you just understand what's going to keep happening if we don't become aware of it, become conscious of it, so that we have a choice to do something about it. And that's why I love having conversations like these, because the only reason I do anything that I do is just to help with present moment awareness. And now we have a choice. And we're all going to need different things. For me, it was guided meditation that helped me so much on my journey to uncover blind spots. Like, literally, the guided meditation was designed to uncover blind spots that I didn't know that I had, that were affecting my energy. And without that, life would have continue to be a big roller coaster, because it was just things that unconsciously were affecting my present moment vibration. So I love everything that you said. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And it's so true. Like what you're talking about, like, you can have quote unquote, and I'm going to say this in air quotes, success in the 3D world, because again, we're programmed that, that's what we're supposed to do. And and I'm not downing success. I want success. I have success. I'm going to have more success, but it's the intention behind it. Why do we want it? And so when it's a program and it's flying under your radar that it's a program, you're not even going to appreciate when you reach these pinnacles of growth. I talk about this all the time, and you just said it too. Your outer reality is always giving you feedback. It is a mirror image of your internal landscape. And a lot of people get a little freaked out when they hear that, because they're like, oh, shit. I didn't know if we could swear. Sorry.
You say
Um,
anything you want. I just tell iTunes at the
okay.
end, was it a clean episode or not? I've had many of both. It is what it is.
Oh, good. And a lot of people are like, oh, shit. Like, they get a little overwhelmed by the level of work that they have to do. But you just like just chip away at one thing at a time, And again, what I love particularly about what I do, and I believe in it wholeheartedly, is because there's a lot of coaches and teachers and healers out there in the world, and I don't want to dismiss anybody's healing modality, because I think that there's definitely credence in all of it. But we're human beings, we're spiritual beings, we've had this human experience, right? That we just can't like run over that. We can't just dismiss that, right? We've had these experiences. We're emotional beings, and when we try to bypass these things to get to that end result, to like vibrate on that high frequency and just keep practicing these laws of attraction to manifest things, a lot of times people hit a wall with that, because these old patterns that are like you said, flying under your radar, that you're not even aware of, keep creeping back in, because it's so impregnated in your energy and your inner child. Your inner child is part of your spirit. It is your spirit. So if we're diminishing the pain that we went through at some point in the past, we have to actually have an emotional release with that. It's awareness, contacting the inner child, spending time with them, reparenting, having an emotional release, and grieving over what we didn't receive, and then we can consciously create. I believe this with my whole fucking heart. Like, this is the method, and it doesn't have to take a long time. I mean, I had every day I'm doing a little bit of this. Like the other day, I watched, my brother and we try to watch this, I don't know, every 5-10 years. We both are adopted. My older brother and I are really close, and we had a really traumatic upbringing. And it's probably why I've been called to do this work, because you don't have to live a life as a victim. I've chosen not to, and I want to teach others how to do the same. And my mother, if you know Joan Crawford, or if you've ever seen the movie Mommy Dear, that was her. When my brother and I first watched that movie, we both kept looking at each other, and we were really young, and we were both totally freaked out. We thought we were getting spied on. We thought like we had these irrational like images that somebody like knew about our lives. But she was bipolar and really abusive, and it was a real spiritual experience and a huge immediate breakthrough when I forgave her. I mean, the cells in my entire body just fired off. It was literally as if something left. I felt it in my chest. I felt it all over my skin. It was like something opened up. I literally saw with new eyes. I was willing to see her differently. And I had to see her for who she was. She's somebody that is in pain and could only teach me what she knew. And so I took on that wound, right? That wound of shame. So it was my job to heal and clear this wound. It was never mine. But that's the process. That's the big 4-step process, is clearing this out. And then who knows, you can actually be called into a life of real service. but you're not going to be able to get to that point unless you do some of this work. People reach out to me all the time, and oh, I've done theta healing, I've done the cutting the cords, I've done this, I've done that, and then they reach out to me in crisis because they've skipped, they've bypassed. When we spiritually bypass things, we end up paying for it later. And we can bypass things and not even know. I've done that. I can't tell you how many times I've done that because new information was put in my awareness when I needed it, when the timing was right. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Actually, the last sentence that you said is, I love that so much, because I always share with people, once we're open to receiving anything that is going to help us evolve on our journey here in this world, once we're like, literally, okay, showing me what I need to see, universe, then it never stops until we leave this earth, which is just awesome. And I've seen that in my life, and I love, sharing that with anyone that is attracted to anything I'm sharing, because for me, it's so interesting how I've attracted the things that I've needed when I've needed them. And I was able to heal some things that I didn't even realize. I never even heard anyone use the term, but I was able to heal some things just by finding appreciation and gratitude for life experiences that I had as a child and in young teenagehood and all these things that I appreciated where it put me in my life, because I was still focusing on the vision for where I wanted to go. And I attracted other things that I needed that were blind spots. So I just love to make sure everybody knows that everything is possibility. Like, there's universal laws, like, that we all adhere to, and then everything else is possibility. And anytime we're brought something that we're like, like if you're listening to Donna right now and you're like, this is interesting, like I kind of want to explore this, I highly recommend taking a step towards that exploration, whatever that means to you, whether it be following Donna, messaging her, doing anything, because that is a likely really good next step on your journey. And there's some clarity there to uncover. And I'm so pro life experience whenever things are brought into our awareness, that we actually move towards them to get the clarity, whether it's the direction we want to keep going, or we just want to go another direction as a result of knowing, this direction. Without the life experience, we're not going to be able to have that clarity. And then we might just need a new life experience until you could hit, a rock bottom, or just, when you're like in a traumatic experience. Now it's like, I'm trying to discover something that can help. We don't have to wait to that point. So if you're feeling if you're feeling an urge to go in any direction, if there's a book brought into your experience or a video, I just highly recommend not thinking that's a coincidence, because there are none of those.
No, I totally agree. Totally agree. Currently, I'm doing 12 step. It's called ACA. It's called Adult Children of Alcoholics and Dysfunction. And I had never heard of this 12 step. I've heard of all the typical ones. And I've never had addictions to drug or alcohol, but it's really it's called being an adult child of this disease and of this dysfunction. And I was completely divinely guided to it. It came into my awareness. I was in one place when I first heard of it, and there wasn't a whole lot of meetings where I was living at the time, but I'm currently in Providence, Rhode Island, and there's several meetings, really great meetings. And I definitely was guided to just sort of doing this, taking another tack at doing the work this way. I'm always kind of like, you got my eyes peeled for like the spiritual breadcrumbs, and I ask for them every day. I sit and use you. I think you recently had one of my favorite colleagues and teachers, Sarah Rose, and she the spiritual CEO.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't think her episode's not out yet, but we did the interview.
Oh, cool.
Awesome episode. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've worked with her a lot in the past, and both of us are really big on. I don't even journal anymore. I just speak out loud the spoken word to spirit, to God consciousness, whatever you want to call it. I usually say spirit because it's just, I don't know, it's just a habit. It's what resonates with me. But using the spoken word for anything that you desire, anything that you're praying for, is so powerful. There's a shaman that I follow. Do you know Shaman Durek?
No.
Oh my God, he's amazing. He says this all the time. He's like, your words are literally sorcery. And Don Miguel Ruiz, he talks about this in the 4 agreements, like, be impeccable with your word. You are literally creating anything that's flying out of your mouth. So it's if it's mindless and negative, you're just going to keep you in that vortex of
Absolutely.
what you're creating, And so now I'm super, super mindful and really intentional and really purposeful with what I speak. And I like to be that way in my work with people one-on-one. I consider it a spiritual format. I lead them with spiritual principles, with their higher power, whatever suits them. I mean, I've had women in my program and a few men who have had a real strong Christian upbringing, and it suited them too. This is what I love about spirituality. It doesn't really matter what words you're tying into it. It's real. Are you connected to something deeper and higher, something bigger than your 3D body? Because here's the deal. When our bodies drop from this go round, from this existence, we're not going to be taking our boats. We're not going to be taking our bank accounts. We're not going to be taking our credit score. We get too concerned about these things in the 3D. It's nice to have them, great goals to have, but the hypervigilance around them gets to be too much. Really, what we start to measure our time here is how much have we given and received love? How much?
I love
How
that.
much love are we outputting and therefore receiving? And this is a huge part of what I do. People mistrust because they've been hurt. So they need to be guided through that process so they can open up their heart space and have this heart coherence to vibrate higher and accept love, not take things personally, see new, be willing to see things differently.
I love this. You inspired me in a couple of different ways right there. And Donna, and I'm going to share the reason that words are so powerful and just so helpful to us if we can pay attention to them, become conscious of what we're speaking, is it's just a reflection of what we're vibrating, because what we're vibrating is going to determine what pops into our mind. If I'm sitting here frustrated, what kind of thoughts am I going to have? Frustrated thoughts. And then it could actually get worse to where momentum carries me into now I'm angry, or now I'm depressed, or now I'm feeling powerless. There's just momentum as far as energy goes. And so it's really good if we start to become aware of, oh my gosh, like I didn't like what I just said right there. Then obviously that's been bouncing around in your head, which was just a response to what's been vibrating. So if we can see it without it having to go from, maybe you have an anxious or worried thought. I'm not saying make yourself wrong for it, but if you can be aware of it, you don't have to let that anxiety go into, if you keep having anxious thoughts for an hour, you probably feel depressed by the end of that hour. Just momentum will carry you. So it's really good to know. And then also our words are just reflecting what our beliefs are. If we ever find yourselves sharing a story, affirming, this is how life is, or I am this, whatever you're saying after that, you're just affirming what your beliefs are, and they're self-fulfilling prophecies. You're literally what you just described, the shaman. You're literally, would you say sorcerer of your, whatever you said was awesome.
Sorcery.
Yeah.
Your words are sorcery.
For sure. So really good to know. Again, not to beat yourself up over, what you're saying or speaking, but to be aware of it so that you, again, have a choice to change it. So that's super powerful. And then what you said there a second ago, which has slipped away, but always comes back into my mind because I just stay in the vibration of where I was to receive the thought, and it always pops back in. It'll come to me in a second. But I love what were you saying right before that? It's going to come back to me. It's really powerful what you were saying, and it just inspired me. And it'll pop in when it's
hard
ready.
to remember once you're in the flow.
I know it'll pop in when it's ready. But I really wanted to affirm that with words.
It's hard for me to remember now too. I think I was talking about, that there's certain things we're not going to take with us. So we need to measure our time here by love.
I remember already. Yep. So it always pops back. For me, there's a little side note for the audience, for you guys, tip. You guys have probably heard me say this before, but whenever you lose your train of thought, because just what I said a second ago with words, because I was vibrating at a certain place to even have that thought. If I start getting frustrated, oh crap, I forgot what I said. That's a different vibration. So the thought's not there. I have to stay playful and enjoying and empowering and in the flow, like Donna just described, and then it just pops right back in. So really, to make life as simple as I'm so about simplicity. And when we start talking about, when you say giving love and receiving love, for all of us, when we know that we're connected in the moment with spirit, source, God, universe, love, all that is source, whatever you want to call it, the force, infinite intelligence, whatever you call it out there, whatever resonates with you. When we know that we're connected in the moment, which it's very easy to know because our vibration, we can feel it. We can feel peaceful, we can feel calm, feel happy, joyful, loving, passionate about something, empowering someone or being empowered. Like in those moments, like we're connected with awesome synchronicities, thoughts and ideas and all of these things. So in those moments, with just like what Donna mentioned, we're giving love in those moments. We're not being critical. We're not condemning. We're not blaming. We're not judging. We're not being a jerk to someone. And we can receive love because we're going to attract it to us, from that place. We're going to have people around us that are connected. And if that becomes that's my only thing I focus on. That's my dominant intention. That's my primary focus, is being connected. Because I know in those moments I can have awesome ideas. I can have awesome people be attracted to me. And more than anything, if people are around me and maybe they're having a rough time, because we all have different, nobody's like permanently like one frequency. Like we're all living the human experience, and it's okay. It's all part of it. But for me, because that's my dominant intent, unless someone wants to come play with me there, we just won't play today. We won't play right now. Like until you're ready to come up. Like I'm not willing to go down and play in the frustrated, blaming, frequency or being a jerk frequency. I'm just not interested in being down there. So, we can make someone, we've all done this probably, where we say to someone, man, I was in such a good mood until you came around, and like, you're always raining on my parade. Well, just that blame. Now we just join them in less than a good mood, and we can do that too. So that just came all channeled. I don't know how that, just from you saying to give and receive love, like sparked all of that. So I just wanted to share all that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's essentially what we are, right? We're vibrational beings full of energy, right? And we're housed in this physical avatar. And we need to start really tuning into how much love we are giving out and how much we are taking in. And a lot of people in the 3D in the world, let's face it, divorce rates are 55% or higher. A lot of people have a lot of difficulty maintaining a relationship. And this is because the foundation that it's built on is flimsy. It's built on seeking approval, codependent habits, fear of abandonment. This is all wrapped up into codependency. What is codependency? Well, for a lot of us, it's a survival trait. It's a survival technique left over from childhood. We don't need it anymore. We're not in the war anymore. So it's time to do this inner work, drop the war on ourselves so that we can actually have what we want.
That's a big one, Donna. That's a huge one. I've met so many people that they're not okay with being alone. Like if it's a Friday,
Right.
they go into depression if they don't have friends around or something to do. And that's a rough place to be be dependent on anything external, but definitely people, external, because what if they want to hang out with someone else? Or what if they're out of town? If we can decide if we can get to the point, whatever we have to do, if we have to do the inner child work, or that's why I love having these conversations on it, because just giving people additional awarenesses and options to just choose, first of all, that I want to work on myself. I want to allow myself to be
Right.
who and what we all truly are. And once we make that choice, the how will find us. We just have to make the choice. And, until then, life is going to be rough, because anytime we're depending on something in the external for our happiness, good luck. That's so fleeting. Like, it's just not going to last. And like, we have to get okay with ourselves internally, and then we get to reflect. And then we're okay when we're alone. We're okay with other people. We're okay in big groups. Like, we can be okay all the time and really enjoy life in all these different scenarios. So I love that you said that.
Yeah, when we depend on external sources for love and joy, we only end up causing ourselves serious suffering and anguish.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I want that for everyone, just to be just okay alone, okay with other people, just okay first, be good with themselves first. And then I like how Oprah says it, like we have to fill our own cup first before we have anything to pour out into others. A great reminder for all of us, because we have so much to give.
Yeah. And this is why I'm such a proponent of this particular modality of healing and connection to yourself, is because What I see happening all the time is when people start to connect with their inner child, have a big emotional release about whatever it is, whatever old hurts they had, whatever they didn't receive. Now they know how to supply their own needs. Now they know how to fill their own cup. And when they start doing that, I'm telling you, the feedback I get from people is incredible. Within a week, they're like, ugh, I don't want to do that thing that I was doing. It feels ick now. It's literally going against their alignment. Where previously it was like all they could do to hold on to the relationship. Like that's how fast it can happen. Like I said, codependency is just a leftover survival technique. You don't need it anymore.
Absolutely. Once we see the light and start being the light, which all of us truly are, there's no going back. So I love doing what I do, because you can't become like when we first came here as little unconditional loving little beings, as like babies and like small children, like before like we started having all the trauma and start comparing ourselves and all this stuff. But when we first came here, like we are who and what we truly are, and like we just have to remember at some point in our lives like who that is. Once we do, like it just, there's no going back. Like once you
Right.
remember as an adult, like there's no going back. So that's why you're so passionate, Donna, and all of us, because it's once we have like seen the light and begin to be the light. Like I just want while I'm here, I just want as many people in humanity to be able to be that who they truly are. And then you get to ask yourself, what am I inspired to do while I'm here? What feels fulfilling? What sounds fun? And we've all lived such different life experiences that we're not going to all be focused on the same thing. So it just allows the world to evolve as a whole. And that's really what we're here to do. So
Totally.
I love this conversation. It's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Me too. One of the foundation of my training is based on a course in miracles. Are you familiar with
Yeah,
the text?
absolutely.
And one of my favorite spiritual hacks of all time. And I like this reminder because, if you're in the throes of confusion, all you have to do is really like recite this out loud or think it to yourself and know where you are. Is all loving thoughts are true. They lead to oneness and connection. All fearful thoughts are false and they lead to separation and isolation. It's one or the other, right? So what our thoughts are leading us to one avenue. Which one is it, right? So if you're sustaining egocentricity, or if you're really connected to your divinity and connected to everything else around you. And once you have that spiritual hack, you can just kind of go upstairs and sort of check in how you're feeling. You're like, why do I feel so frustrated and worried and I feel like crap? Oh, I'm going to reverse engineer this. What was I thinking about? I was thinking about, I was worrying about all this stuff that isn't even in existence. They were just like upstairs. I was just attaching a thought to them. And this is exactly what you said. Then you start to believe it and buy into it, and you start vibrating on that level. That's why I really love that saying, because even to this day, even I am like, I'm getting sometimes I'll get really caught up in like the 3D stuff. Wait, should I be worried about this? I don't think so. I don't think I need to be worried, but maybe I actually do. And then you just use that sort of that hack, that metaphor, and you just know exactly where you are.
I love that. That's awesome. Yeah, that's for any of us. I mean, that's so important for us to be able to just even asking the question: is this coming from fear or is this coming from love? Like I tell people, once you're even asking these questions, or you care about like the difference, like you care if you're living in fear or living in love. Once you care and you're aware of it, and then you're asking those questions, now you're 99% of the way there. The 1% is where we all will always have to just choose how are we going to be in the moment. But without asking the question or being aware of it, like you're lost, because life is just you're going to basically respond to everything that's going around. And then that's going to determine what your vibration is by how you're responding to everything around. But because you're not aware of it, if you see something negative on the news, now you feel bad. And then what you don't realize is that feeling bad now is reflecting into other areas of your life. Now you have a conversation, and conversation doesn't go really as well as you want it to go because you're feeling crappy because of the way that you responded to. So you're not paying attention to any of this. So life is kind of pulling you around versus you reflecting out what you would like to see. And that's, I mean, it's so vital what Donna just shared. So I love that. That's awesome. That quote that you just said was cool.
Yeah, it's an offshoot from A Course in Miracles. All loving thoughts are true and they lead to oneness and connection. All fearful thoughts are false and lead to separation and isolation.
I'm so happy you just said that again, because I was reaching for a thought that escaped me and I knew it would come back. So I was just affirming the awesomeness in what you said. And then you resaid the quote, and then the exact thing that I wanted to share came back, because that's how I got it the first time, was when you shared that.
Yeah.
So what Donna just inspired me to share. And this is why, like, no matter what spiritual text, no matter what religion, no matter what spiritual teacher, no matter who is out there, like for me, I can decipher like truth by how it feels. And if it's coming from a place of love, then it feels good. It resonates. And if it's coming from a place of fear or trying to manipulate or control or any of these things, no matter where it comes from, if it comes from the Bible, if it comes from any spiritual text, any teacher, if it's coming from a place of fear, control, manipulation, it doesn't resonate. And I always tell people, you can feel truth when you hear it. And that's what that quote, made me think of just now. And that's why, I mean, I grew up in really organized, like religion, Christianity, Baptist, going to church every Sunday. And I appreciate it because I always was aware that there was a source greater than I, or, I didn't understand as like I understand now, as far as that's who and what we all truly are. We're just reflecting that non-physical energy out. But I'm appreciative that I didn't just look at what I saw around me and think that was all there was. Like I always had like something, I was like, there's something else going on out here. But when it came to like the fearful stuff, and if you don't do this, then this will happen, didn't really resonate with me. And I'm not one to be like feared easily. Just like, well,
That's great. Wow.
yeah, I was like, I'm going to enjoy this life. There's things that I want to do. And, if it goes against, the rules and regulations that to feel man-made to me, because now I know that, any written words or anything, like we're either channeling it from source or we're channeling it from our fears, doubts, and worries. And I could tell the difference. So it doesn't matter if it's in the Bible or anywhere else. There's parts where there was someone that was just writing from a place of, they weren't connected in that moment to spirit. Like you can feel it. Like when the words, there's no way those words could come from source, from love, because they're just not loving words. So, you can tell someone, you love them all day long. Like people do this a lot, like in relationships, like, they say that they love you, but they're yelling at you or like smacking you in the face. Like right now, are we being love? Like love is a frequency that we be in the moment. So, the words that are saying, if it's coming from a place that's not from the frequency of love, then that's not resonating with me or with any of us. Like it's not, we don't hold it as truth. So.
Right.
Yeah. This is awesome. Well, Donna, we're here in March now, right at the beginning. This is crazy. The year is already in full swing. What are you excited about this year? Like what's going on in Donna's world?
Oh God, I'm excited. I'm excited for my business. I'm excited to see where I've been ungrounded geographically for some time, and I'm excited to see what happens with that. I have no idea if this area is the area, where I'm living now. I sort of upended my life in November of 2018, and I traveled Southeast Asia for 6 months. I quit my jobs and I sold all my things, and I really wanted to adopt minimalist life. And it wasn't an easy feat because I had a beautiful apartment and great jobs that paid well. And, I was in that community for 15 years and, had great taste in material objects and clothes and, had my beautiful home. But, what I wanted at the time was bigger, and I wanted to do something really brave and just sort of, it was like I put myself through my own little trial, with that. But since that time, it's been just me being ungrounded geographically. So for the remainder of the year, I'm just really curious to see what happens. I have no real concrete ideas or plans. I think I know that I do want to end up in warmer weather like you are, but my family is up here too, so I need to be able to have access to them, and really just stay in the flow. I don't think for right now, I have any major goals. It's just always coming from a place of being in service, always coming from a place of, you know, dear God, highest self, may everything come from the highest and the greatest good today, and just stay in that place, and I'm happy with that.
I love that. That allows us to live in the moment and enjoy the moments of life so much. It allows us to enjoy the whole journey versus, I'm I'm not a huge like goal person anymore either. Like I used to
Yeah.
think that that was like required. For me, it's just like I have things that are in creation right now that just seem exciting for me and then for humanity. What I love knowing is that whatever I want for myself is what I could want for all beings because there's abundance of all things. So I just get really clear on what it is that I'm inspired to do while I'm here, and I'm like, how can I apply this to all that is? How can I apply this
Yeah.
to humanity?
Yeah.
And then just enjoy the moments of life along the way, having new synchronicities, new ideas, lots of amazing downloads come in meditation for me to where they just when I'm ready to receive the next step, the next awareness, it comes. But what I'm primarily focused on is what's my right now state of being, which allows me to enjoy the moment right now, which at one time in life was my greatest weakness a decade ago and has become by far my greatest strength because it's the only thing I care about. So if you only have one thing to think about, then you're going to probably get pretty good at it if that's
Yeah.
important to you. So, but I love that because now you get to Donna live the adventure of life, whether you're in Rhode Island or wherever else, and
Yeah.
it's awesome.
Yeah. So who knows? We'll see.
Absolutely. It's fun living that way, you guys. Like to be able to truly like be present in the moments of life and to let things unfold. And our life experience up until today is what has given us the clear picture as of right now, as far as I like this about life. I want to experience this, and we'll be more clear tomorrow, the next day, next week, next month. It's not promised, but the more life that we live, the more clear we're going to be on as far as direction and what we like and don't like. And we can enjoy the moments along the way without needing to know how, when, where, who, all these details that typically make us anxious. That can be a really fun journey. And we use it cliche, enjoy the journey, but how many of us are really doing that? Like
I
we just
know.
it's more about like I'm literally getting ready to post. It's already posted when this episode comes out. But as soon as I'm done recording this, I'm posting today's podcast, and the title is "Why I'll Be Happy When fill in the blank doesn't work." And that's literally that was the biggest discovery of my life, and
Mhm.
that's why I was depressed for a time in my life, because it was the I'll be happy when I have the
Yeah.
success, so I have this, so I have that. It doesn't work. So
Yeah.
I love it.
Ego loves timelines.
Right.
Love timelines. Things aren't happening fast enough, or things are going to take too long. It loves one of the other end of that.
For sure. Ego likes to like, we like to take score. Like that has been I think my biggest weakness in my entire life. Like if I look at the whole thing, is you get excited about something, and before I understood the things that we're sharing on this podcast, like you want to now judge it. Like, is it happening? Like, do I see it like working out? Like, is it happening fast enough? Like, I've done this many things, towards this vision, but I don't think it's like taking shape as quick as I'd like it to, and that just makes us feel crappy every time. And a lot of times it sometimes allows us or has us neglect the direction where if we just enjoy the process and enjoy
Yeah.
the journey, could have been a synchronicity right around the next corner that could have
Yeah.
led to everything that we wanted, but we're not.
Totally.
So
Totally.
I love it. I love it. Well, last question that I have for you, unless you inspire another one, just you've been doing this the whole time, and I'm always curious, what people will say, knowing that we're pretty sure that the internet is going to outlive us all and probably be around forever, which I think is awesome, because whether you guys are listening to this right when it's released or 500 years from now, hello. I know you guys are thriving, and it's another topic, but Donna and I are probably around, in another form of some sort. Um,
Totally.
but what is it that you would love to share with humanity whenever they hear this, that you just feel would make a positive impact on their lives? And you've been doing it the whole time, but anything that's flowing out of you that you want people to become aware of for them.
I would love for anybody that chooses to listen to this recording, this podcast, this video, to know that everything that you actually want, you can have. There might be a few steps that you're not aware of, that you're missing out on to get to that point. And most of us that have walked the planet have experienced a great deal of hardship and a lot of abuse and difficulties early in life. They are your treasures. These moments are great catalysts for incredible transformation and incredible change. I am one of the children of a caregiver of a home where there was crazy levels of terror every single day and abuse. And I am able to be a human in this experience now, in this moment, with no more signs of PTSD, being able to love fully, have healthy, loving relationships in my life, and live my purpose and bring in everything that I want into my life. You don't have to be defined by those things. You can completely transcend them. It's possible. I guess that's what I would like to say.
I love that. Rewind that and listen to what Donna just said. it's so important, and I love that that's the direction that you took. It brings the whole episode together, because I mean, I'm so happy for, and even though like any traumatic or challenging experience is of course going to be challenging during it, like during the moment of it, but what Donna just described, like it's what turns us into who we are today and gives us the fuel to go out and be who we came here to be. And without all of those moments, even if we think we might eliminate some of them, if we did have the ability to do that, which as far as I know, we don't. But if we did have the ability to eliminate some of those moments, then we'd be on a whole different track. So whatever we're creating now, that we're inspired to create, that we're impacting and inspiring and uplifting others with, just, you can throw that out the window too, because we wouldn't be the person to actually go out and create that. So,
right.
There's so many stories of people that have inspired me that, have had so many just rough things happen in their life. And I've had challenges. We've all had different challenges in their own, various forms.
Yeah.
So I love that you just affirm that for people, because I want everybody out there to just know that, you're perfect and complete just the way that you are. And those challenges are what's going to allow you to have the fun, the fulfillment, create the things that you're here to create. And, just be an inspiration to others that, maybe right now don't know, they haven't heard this episode yet and don't know that, they too can be or do or have anything that they want. And I'm just excited for everybody to have that light bulb come on, because once it's on, there's no turning it off.
Right. Exactly.
Well, this is awesome. So much fun. And I appreciate you for coming on and sharing all this love and light with the audience.
Thank you very much for having me. Yeah, it was great.
Such a great episode, and perfect timing as always. And you guys out there, definitely share this episode. It will greatly impact anyone that is attracted to listen to it or watch it, if you're on YouTube or wherever you are. And definitely rate and review the podcast if you haven't already. Subscribe, make it easier for people to find this episode and all the other beautiful episodes we've done. And, I'll keep attracting and connecting, which is just fun for me. It's a conversation I would want to have with Donna anyway. And I've become Donna like a recording snob. Like if it's not recorded, it's not as fun for me, because I'm like, I want to share this with people. Right. We have these conversations. So I'll definitely keep having awesome conversations with beautiful humans like Donna, and keep sharing it with all you guys out there. And I appreciate you all sending tons of love and light and positive vibes to you guys. And take that inspiration of whether it be what's something you heard in this episode, if it's attracting you to follow Donna, do it, or connect with her, do it. Definitely no coincidence, and it's a great next step on your journey. And just start being open to those next steps to find us, because they always will when we're ready for them. And that's how it works for all of us forever. So, yeah, well, appreciate you all out there. We'll talk with you soon. Sending tons of positive vibes. Have an amazing day whenever you guys hear this. Awesome. So much fun. That was an awesome episode. Wow.